Putting on my top hat, tying up my white tie, brushing up my tail.
Welcome to Hatcast,
the show where we talk about hats.
I'm Charles Berman.
And I'm Carl Bernhardson.
This is episode 2 of Hatcast, and today's subject is...
the bucket hat.
The bucket hat.
It looks like a bucket.
And it's a hat. Thank you for sticking with us from episode 1. We haven't had any correspondence yet, but it has been pointed out that we went through the whole bowler episode without mentioning Waiting for Godot.
That's true.
So just as an appendage, if you're interested in bowlers and looking at people wearing bowlers, see Waiting for Godot, which is a wonderful existentialist, modernist, postmodernist fringe play by Samuel Beckett. It's very good, and some people hate it, and the bowler hats on the characters are reminiscent, intentionally, I think, of Laurel and Hardy.
Right. Well, speaking of things that some people hate, that is the bucket hat.
The bucket hat is a much reviled item of fashion, I have to say.
Well, and that's because as an item of fashion, it makes everyone look terrible.
Now, we always begin by talking about the hats we wore today.
Yes.
You were according to the episode, and yours fits in. Mine was not.
Yes.
I have sort of a leather flat cap.
Yes, I like it. Not all leather flat caps look good, but this one does.
Thank you. I was so pleased with it. I got this at the Port Authority bus terminal in New York City.
Really? Did you just find it, or did you buy it?
It was in a stand. It was in not a hat stand, but a stand selling hats.
Okay. Well, I walked up by the door, and someone had just hung this hat there for me.
No, I exchanged money for it. It doesn't have a brand. It just says genuine leather. F Star America. It doesn't spell out star. It has a star. Made in USA. And it's got sort of 3 panels on the top. It's brown. I think the black leather flat caps look sort of criminal.
Yes, I think movies have conditioned us to think that way. I have a black suede leather flat cap, and I wear it when I either want to look like a chauffeur or I'm a burglar.
But it does sound nice.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite do that, but it's extremely warm. So it's good for cold days when you also have earmuffs because it doesn't cover your ears. Or when it's raining because it does sort of deflect the water off. It doesn't soak in.
Mm-hmm. Today, I have a bucket hat in honor of the show about bucket hats. I'm not always going to do this, but today I've been...
Why not?
I bought this hat to have something to wear to stop my face from burning and keeping the sun out of my eyes when I go sailing on my sailboat. And here we are sort of in the depths of winter, and I am rather desperately missing my sailboat. So as soon as I got out of work, I got into my car and I threw on this bucket hat.
It's still nice to be out on the water when it's cold, I think.
It is, but to fall into the water when it's cold...
not nice.
...may kill you.
No, well, yours is a nice olive green colored bucket hat, which I used to have one like that. I'm not sure what happened to it.
Yeah, I think that a darker colored bucket hat takes some of the edge off of it. It's those very sheer white ones can be like the one that you're holding here in your hand.
A prop, and it's a pretty white, sort of cream color.
Right, and it does have a blue trim around the brim.
The edge, and it's got these little
eyelets,
grommet holes, or what? I don't know what you call it.
Eyelets or grommets,
yes.
Yeah.
Are they aglets actually?
Oh, maybe they are aglets.
And that vents it.
And mine has that too. I think that is probably a defining feature of the bucket hat.
I've seen bucket hats. No, I think you're right. I might have seen them without, but it's a pretty common feature of the bucket hat. Now, I have to say, if you look up bucket hat, we should describe a bucket hat first of all.
Yes.
It's sort of a shapeless hat, which is a nice feature in some cases because you can easily fold it and put it into your pocket.
Right. You could carry it in just regular jeans or khaki pockets without any problem. It's just a piece of cloth.
If you want a hat to throw in a suitcase in case you lose your hat and you don't want to be without a hat at all, bucket hat, because it folds up so small. I've folded it up to about the size of a pack of large playing cards right now. So it's very portable, and it looks like, and I believe this is, no one's actually even said it, but I don't think we even need to do the research because it's just such obvious etymology. Yeah. It looks like a bucket.
You turn it upside down. I bet if it was waterproof, you could fill it up with water.
Use it as a bucket.
It would hold water for a while.
Yeah. Here's the thing about the bucket hat. If you talk about the history of bucket hats, you will find people saying the bucket hat's history goes back many decades to the 1900s. And you will have pictures of bucket hats that are bucket-shaped. But they will point out these bucket hats are tweed. They were called the bucket or fishing hat, and they will be tweed. And I have a hat sort of like that. It's vaguely bucket-shaped, and it's made of a rather nice, stiff, brownish-gray tweed. That is not what I think of as a bucket hat.
Right. Although I guess it is...
bucket-shaped.
Does it have a different name for something that's made of tweed?
I've heard it called an Irish walking hat.
Irish walking hat. So is it sort of a type of bucket hat? A bucket hat with style?
I think of them, myself, taxonomically, I think of them as different hats.
Okay. Because the bucket hats you typically encounter are canvas. Mm-hmm. I've seen them in denim, too, which I guess is a type of canvas.
Yeah.
I have also seen them in a waterproof, like Gore-Tex.
Which is logical.
Yes.
That one I have, and I'll bring it next time, or one of these times. It's stiff enough material that you can pinch the brim.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think of it as a bucket hat. These are very floppy.
Right.
The typical bucket hat. Back in high school, I used to have a bucket hat that had the Yankees emblem on it. I actually wore that quite a lot because there are certain advantages to a bucket hat.
Oh, yeah. No, it is a practical hat. It will keep the sun off the back of your neck. It keeps the sun off the front of your face. And it...
keeps it about the same diameter off the sides of your head.
Right, it protects your ears.
It's a very summery hat. Don't wear it in the winter. You could. But
it's not going to do much for you.
I mean, you just did it today. I don't mean to tell you what to do.
Oh, but I did it for nostalgia reasons.
Yeah. They come in many patterns. And I've seen... Now, the one I've got is pretty plain. I've got one that like that. You will get them sometimes at baseball games as a giveaway. It's not a baseball hat.
Right.
But I've got one that was originally given at I'm not an Orioles fan, but a Baltimore Orioles game, which is a reversible bucket hat.
Really? See,
yes.
most of the ones I'm familiar with have that mesh on the inside.
Yeah, which this one doesn't. Actually,
because if I were to reverse mine, I would look very silly.
Even sillier than a person wearing a bucket hat. Well, you would be a person wearing a bucket hat, but this one is he's just done it. It looks very silly. This one that I have, it's black on one side and bright orange if you reverse it to the other side.
Really? How practical.
Searing neon orange, yes. Which, if you want to be seen in an emergency...
Right, if you do not want to be lost in a crowd, wear a neon orange bucket hat.
But these days, what would be the circumstances in which one of us would wear a bucket hat?
I'm at the beach. I'm on a boat. I'm somewhere where it's sunny and I don't need to look great. I'm not going, out on the town or something. This is, it's a outdoor pursuits hat that just works.
Not that there are many indoor hats, but
right.
Yes, it's not just a hat to be worn outdoors, which they all are,
right? But
it is a hat for an outdoorsman.
Yes, that's the
outdoorsman
word we're looking for.
Yeah, it is. I've worn it at the beach. I've worn it. It's not bad for a long walk in the summer.
Yep. Well, both you and I like metal detecting. It is kind of when you imagine in your mind's eye a metal detector, he's wearing a bucket hat. It's just part of the uniform.
A metal detector can refer to either a person using a metal detector or a machine.
Well, the machines wear bucket hats too. Every day when I go through security at work.
Personifying a metal detector machine and saying he's wearing a bucket hat. No, but yeah, I think it's a stereotypical image, and it might be one of the top stereotypes of the bucket hat wearer is that it's a older man on the beach.
Yes.
Maybe also wearing a rain slicker.
At the same time on the beach.
Yes. Even though it's not raining. Metal detecting on the beach. Which, I don't always metal detect on the beach.
No.
But it's a very common stereotype of the bucket hat.
Yes. Another common thought or another image that immediately comes to mind when you think of the bucket hat is Gilligan.
Gilligan, yes. Gilligan is the main character, as all of you I'm sure know, is the main character from a sitcom called Gilligan's Island, which was on in the 1970s. And he wears this sort of beige-colored bucket hat. And he always seems to wear the same shirt, too.
Yep, a white shirt, red sweater, and blue pants, and that's Gilligan. To be fair, he's stuck on an island.
He is stuck on an island.
He doesn't have any other clothes.
Which can go two ways. On the one hand, if you're stuck on an island, you don't have a place to get new clothes. Right. On the other hand, if you're stuck on an island surrounded by salt water, wearing the same clothes every day, they are going to wear out.
Yes.
So I don't... Yeah.
If we turned this episode into Carl and Charles critique the realism of Gilligan's Island, it could go on for hours. So let's not go down that rabbit hole. But it is a practical hat for island life.
Yeah, because the sun is a big problem. Now, he's not got sunglasses, but maybe he didn't bring them on the... What was it, a 4-hour tour?
3-hour tour.
A 3-hour tour. I didn't bring them on that, maybe. I would have, but it's Gilligan. He's not a smart person.
Yeah. No. Well, another thing that's practical about the bucket hat, right? That I'm thinking about that probably served Gilligan well because he was always falling over or getting caught in situations in that situation comedy. It is firmly planted on your head. The wind isn't going to take it. It comes down beyond your ears.
It's a good hat for the wind.
Yep.
Especially even the shape of it will not catch the wind.
You know what it is? It's kind of the summer's version of a knit cap.
Yes.
It covers your head. A knit cap doesn't need to hide the sun because it's the winter. But it is essentially a canvas knit cap in shape.
Yeah, with a little bit of a brim because there's usually more sun in summer than there is in winter. But now the knit cap, I have to say, when we'll do an episode on the knit cap, is not one of my favorite hats.
No.
I have got maybe one or two. One was a gift made by my mother, so I'm not going to throw it away. But it's not a very good-looking kind of hat. And the elephant in the middle of the room when you're talking about a bucket hat is that it's not a good-looking hat.
Right. I think we've hinted at that. But let's just be frank. You want to look good, don't wear a bucket hat.
Yeah.
I've got some pictures of me on my sailboat from this summer, and I look at them and I think, what a lovely sailboat. I wish I didn't wear that hat for the picture.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, relevant to this, apparently in Bulgarian, a bucket hat, and I don't speak Bulgarian, so forgive me if I mispronounce this, is called an idiotka.
What could that mean?
Idiot hat.
Yeah, it does. It does immediately make you look stupid.
Yes.
Yep.
Now, this is not to say, I'm sure we have some listeners out there who've worn a bucket hat.
And we're sorry.
You're not stupid for wearing it.
No, you just...
But it does look kind of stupid.
Any other good names for the bucket hat from around the world?
Oh, yes. In Israel, it is known as a Raphael hat after Raphael Eitan, an Israeli politician and former chief of staff of the Israeli Defense Forces, who used to wear one. In Russia, it is called a Panama.
Kind of like a Panama hat?
That's a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
Yes. Because now they might be worn in Panama, but I think of a Panama hat as a very separate...
It's a very specific type
separate
of
hat.
Which we'll have to do an episode on.
We certainly will, and it'll get my highest regards. Panama I think of as a very luxurious kind of hat. Now, we'll have to go into our opinions on this, because if you look up the Wikipedia even on the bucket hat, it will say in the 1960s the bucket hat was adopted. It will say the bucket hat was adopted as a fashion accessory.
Really?
And that it was used as high fashion. And then it has a picture of somebody, Barbra Streisand, wearing what doesn't really look like a bucket hat.
It's sort of a bucket hat plus.
It's a very wide-brimmed. This is a particular fashion-forward hat.
Right.
Which I don't know if we'll do a whole episode, because I've never seen a hat like that on anyone other than Barbra Streisand in this picture.
No, we can call it. I mean, looking at this photograph of Barbra Streisand, it is a bucket hat.
It's kind of a bucket hat.
It's an oversized bucket hat. It looks more like a. I guess it's more akin to the fisherman's hats when you think of that sort of stereotypical fisherman in the in the yellow raincoat with the big yellow rain hat. It looks more like a rain hat than a bucket hat. And a rain hat is it's similar to a bucket hat, but it's much
adjacent.
Wider.
Yeah, I think of it as its own
bucket
thing.
hat adjacent.
Yeah. Now, if you imagine the Curious George stories,
yes,
the man in the yellow hat,
right,
is known by his hat.
Yes,
it's yellow. He's wearing a raincoat too. He's not the man in the bucket hat.
No,
but they are referring to it by. I think that's a rain hat.
It is a rain hat.
Yeah, and I like a hat like that for going out in the rain, but I think it's a separate thing. But it says here, the hat became popular with rappers in the 1980s and remained part of street fashion into the 1990s.
I guess this is something that I wasn't aware of.
I guess anything that anyone ever wears on the street is street fashion.
Right. I guess I had never thought of the bucket hat as
fashionable.
Yes.
More recently, it has reemerged as a fashion catwalk item, being sported by celebrities such as Rihanna.
Really?
That's what it says, and then the article that it cites is dated 2014.
That is a bucket hat.
There are some people here on the catwalk. I believe a man and two women. Oh, and here's some further fashion-forward photographs. People wearing bucket hats.
And let's be very clear here. These are fashionable people who wear clothes for a living and are meant to make them look good. Still don't look good.
Now I have to
Still
say,
a bucket hat.
Oh, and here's Schoolboy Q, the rapper,
Oh.
wearing a bucket hat. Now I'll have to say a couple things. First of all, the things people wear on fashion catwalks are not always necessarily fashionable outside of the fashion catwalk.
That's true.
For instance, this man wearing a bucket hat also seems to be wearing a blazer that is made of the material that you would make a velvet smoking jacket out of.
Which the hat is also made of. This
Yes.
is let's be very clear. This man that we're looking at right now, and I wish you could see it, is wearing a very floppy velvet bucket hat.
Yes, and his shirt seems to be sort of a billowy pirate material.
Right.
With two large black buttons, which buttoned up to his neck.
Right. And 2 is never the right number of buttons for a shirt.
It's not. So this is overall a set of clothes that no reasonable person would probably want to wear.
Right. I'm thinking about one time when I wore a bucket hat and a raincoat, and I had walked down the street, and it was sort of a foggy day, and some of my friends saw me approaching from the porch and were startled. Right? They're like, where is your hook hand that you should be sort of dragging along the sides of houses as you come towards me in this bucket hat? There is sort of a frightening figure from the mist.
I don't think it's mentioned in the poem, but you sort of imagine the ancient mariner wears a bucket hat. He probably would have had a tricorn hat in sorry condition, but you can imagine that. And I have to say, and being perfectly frank, these fashion-forward pictures of bucket hat wearers, they generally are not very good looking. This is entirely subjective here.
Now, I will say these bucket hats that they're wearing have larger brims.
They do.
And I think that does make them look slightly better, and it takes them towards rain hat territory.
Yeah.
One of the funny things about the bucket hat is that the brim is so circular and so small, usually not more than 2 or 3 inches wide.
Mm-hmm. Now, Schoolboy Q here is wearing it with a pretty nondescript hoodie.
Right.
Normal apparel. Casual apparel.
Right. It is not an uncasual hat.
No, it's very casual.
It is not formal.
So that's right. And his hat is of the normal bucket hat shape. It's the same shape as ours.
Yes.
And it still doesn't look very good.
No.
But he's got a light tie-dye pattern on it.
Which I think is fun.
It's a lot of fun.
If you think of hats that you could tie-dye and get away with it, not
bucket
a
hat.
bowler, gonna look not good.
I don't want to even imagine this red and blue on white tie-dye on a bowler hat.
Right.
That wouldn't be looked at as fun and clever. That would be, what are you doing on your head? It's just not.
It's the kind of hat, like if you had a bedazzler, you could bedazzle a bucket hat.
Yeah,
and
you
can
would
get away with it.
bedazzle a bowler.
No one is going to get mad at you. You're already wearing a bucket hat, so you can take risks.
Yeah, anything you do is improving the bucket hat.
It's funny, this keeps happening, but as we talk more and more about it, maybe it could be. It has a lot of fashion potential because of how unfashionable it is. You can do anything to it.
Aggressively unfashionable, fashionable by way of aggressively unfashionable.
Right. And a way that you can also wear a bucket hat is with the brim kind of turned up.
Yeah,
and if you want to make yourself look even stupider while wearing a bucket hat.
Gilligan did do that. There's no point in that practically.
It takes all the practicality out of the bucket hat. It no longer keeps the sun and water out of your eyes. And now it's just something on your head to make you look very silly.
Yeah. Now, I have seen one, and I saw someone wearing on a street that had a bright galaxy pattern on it.
Oh, really? That's fun, too.
Yeah, it is fun. And I thought, well, it's a bucket hat. But if you want to wear something whimsical...
Yeah. So we've just Googled bucket hats right here. And I'm, just to list a few of the things I'm seeing, bucket hat with hot dogs on it. Bucket hat with avocados all over it. Bucket hat with dinosaurs. Bucket hat with the sort of pattern you see on a...
swooshes.
Yep, Nike. And one that looks like it's made out of handkerchiefs.
Yeah, the typical red handkerchief pattern that you see on a archetypical handkerchief is what's been used to make this bucket hat.
And you had mentioned you had a bucket hat with a New York Yankees logo on it.
Yeah, I have.
It takes a logo well. A lot of, I can really only think of 2 or 3 types of hats that you can slap a logo on there, and it's fine.
Yeah,
baseball
usually
cap.
a baseball cap. Now, I've seen a flat cap with a baseball logo on the bottom of the.
Ugh.
Yeah.
See, the bucket hat gives you a lot of real estate,
right? Yeah.
For some word placement or a picture.
And it works all right. Now, I have one that I got at the thrift store. Mm-hmm. Just spend 50 cents on an extra bucket hat, and it says Croatia across the front,
and it's yours now.
It's bright red. Yes. Imagine somebody probably brought that back by hand from Croatia.
Right.
I've never been to Croatia. I'd like to be there someday.
You've got the hat to wear when you get there.
Yeah.
That's what they all wear.
I don't actually think so. That's just flipping through. Here's a Green Bay Packers themed bucket hat. Why not?
Yeah. Show
your Packers pride with a hat that's maybe a little more practical for the beach. But you could wear it to a football stadium in the middle of winter. Why not? Here's one that says Hustlin' in large letters across the front of it. Not a apposite hat for all situations, but here's one with pineapples on it. Yeah. If you like that particular fruit. So here's one
that looks like a turtle.
Yeah, and this is actually, I can't tell if that's meant to be a turtle or a hamburger.
It's a turtle.
Okay.
Yes, at first I thought it was a hamburger.
Why is there cheese?
Now that we look at this, it is very confusing. It could either be a turtle or a hamburger.
The point is, you can make a bucket hat look like almost anything you could make a T-shirt,
right,
or Hawaiian shirt out of. So, for that, although it is a pretty goofy kind of hat in general,
well, that's the thing. It gives you a whole bunch of levels of goofiness.
Yeah.
You can have a lot of fun with the bucket hat. And now I'm feeling kind of bad, because we spent the first half of this kind of making fun of the bucket hat, but now that we're going deeper and deeper into the world of bucket hats, I'm becoming a fan.
There is something... Yes, we did make fun of the bucket hat, but I make fun of the bucket hat affectionately.
Yes. It is one of the things that, without fail, you will not look as good putting on your head as you will taking it off of your head.
Right, yeah. But again, we've got to talk about, what do we mean by good? Have you heard of the phenomenon of power clashing?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
You could really power clash with a bucket hat.
You could, or you could fulfill the spirit of power clashing without actually even clashing. Because power clashing, for those of you who are not familiar, is wearing things that clash as badly as possible deliberately, right, as a fashion statement. Now, you could not be clashing at all. You could be wearing a plain black polo shirt and khakis, let's say, or slacks, or whatever, and a bright bucket hat with hot dogs on it.
Now you're clashing.
Maybe the colors even match.
Right.
You're conceptually clashing.
By pure virtue of it being a bucket hat.
Yeah.
You're clashing with the environment around you, if you're anywhere other than the waterfront.
While there is a hot dog festival going on.
Right.
Even if you're at the waterfront and everyone else is wearing solid colored bucket hats, or maybe a baseball cap or a straw, I don't know what they're going to wear, but that's going to stand out. So I think the bucket hat is good for if you're, fishing or beachcombing or relaxing at the beach or doing some outdoorsy thing where you want the sun off your face. It's good for making a deliberately goofy statement.
Yes.
Like if, I don't have one quite as cool as that galaxy patterned hat, but if I want to go around saying Croatia all the time.
Right.
Have you been to Croatia? No.
Got Croatia on my mind.
Yeah. And it's good for if you need to stow an emergency hat.
Yes. That's probably its most practical element.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if we were to give the bucket hat a rating...
Well, let's do practicality first.
Okay.
Because practicality is easy. The bucket hat is portable.
Yes, it is.
It is comfortable. It keeps the sun off of your face. It doesn't make you too warm in the summer. I think it's a very high practicality hat.
Yes, it gets very, very high practical points.
I might give it an 8 or 9. I don't know.
I would give it a 9 for practicality.
I'll agree with you. It's a 9 on practicality level. Style is difficult.
Right. It's how are you going to use this bucket hat?
I think it takes a certain amount of panache and fearlessness.
Yes. If you're just wearing a bucket hat in earnest,
you're not stylish.
You're not stylish.
No, and that could be all right.
No, it's fine.
I've done it. I'm just not shooting for style over practicality that day. And I wore a bucket hat. But if you are shooting for being a stylish person, and you're just wearing a bucket hat, now you could wear a bucket hat for its audacity value.
Right, and then it could be very stylish.
Right.
I'm not sure how we're going to calculate this, because it could be...
Here's what I'll say. Yes, you can get very stylish with bucket hats and crazy patterns worn for audacity value. But isn't it the case that that is also true for almost any kind of hat?
That's true. It could be any hat.
Now, it might... I mean, there are more...
Pure form of a bucket hat is not stylish.
Yeah, there are many kinds of bucket hat out there, so it makes it a little easier. But look, if you're going for audacity value, go around and wear your tricorn.
Yeah, that's true. It would be more audacious to wear a different hat.
Yeah. So, I'm going to have to give it... I mean, we'll give it some points.
I'll give it 1 point.
So it's a 1.
Yes.
Yeah, I think, you know what? I have to be fair. There is no hat that I would say is less classy and stylish in its ideal form than a bucket hat. Maybe
a knit cap.
A knit cap. And I say this even though I wear them because I have affection for bucket hats. But really, I can't think of anything worse.
Yeah. It's a 1. Now, this scale does not preclude zeros. I'm not giving it a 0. It's not completely without
right.
style.
So what about...
Someone thought about it.
We're not doing this episode now, but I mean, for instance, we might get to propeller beanie.
Right. That's a 0. You've got propeller beanie. Probably not even worth doing a whole episode on. Although, honestly, we should do a novelty hats episode.
Yeah, or maybe we'll do an uncommon hats hot takes episode.
Propeller beanie, 5.
All right, so we've got. So
what was yours? Were you giving it a 1 for style as well, or?
I was going to give it a 2.
Okay.
Because come to think of it, there are worse things you could wear.
All right. Yeah.
I'll give it a 2.
That at least
we don't always have to have Concord. It'll make the score a little bit more interesting.
Yes.
I
think it's more interesting when the judges disagree.
Yeah. No, I think it's far more boring. All right. But we did agree on the 2 9s.
Plus a 1, plus a 2. Divided by 4.
21 divided by 4. The bucket hat gets a 5.25. 5.25.
What a fair assessment.
Yeah.
Just slightly better than
average. It's above
average.
the middle of the road.
Yep.
It's better than not wearing a hat at all.
That's true. You could go without a hat, and that would be miserable.
Yeah. John F. Kennedy.
We'll have to have a whole segment about him.
Yeah. All right, well, this has been Hatcast, the podcast about hats.
I'm Carl Bernhardson.
I'm Charles Berman. If you want to get in touch with us, the email is hatcast@yandex.com. HATCAST@yandex.com.
Looking forward to hearing from you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
There's a hole in the bucket, dear Liza, dear Liza. There's a hole in the bucket, dear Liza. There's a hole.
Then fix it, dear Henry, dear Henry, dear Henry. Then fix it, dear Henry, dear Henry. Fix it.
With what should I fix it, dear Liza, dear